The future of work, as we know, is completely changed. Remote working, hybrid working, work from anywhere has played a key role in how we start looking at employee engagement, employee performance management, and even from a business performance standpoint. And that's where objectives and key results, or OKRs, as they're called, has been picking up interest in a lot of the business circles. Today, I have with me Hannes. He's the founder of howtookr.com. So he's the OKR expert who's there with us today, and he will answer a lot of questions which many of the businesses who want to get into that space to be future ready need to know. So welcome, Hannes. Really nice to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Karthik, for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. So Hannes, help the users understand, why did OKR start, and from a future of work standpoint, what importance do you think it will play?
Well, I mean, these days, I think we have to relate it a little bit to the actual COVID situation or post-COVID situation, and I think it showed us in the beginning that this is really hard for leaders who are really deep inside micromanaging their people. So it's really difficult for them when people start to work from home suddenly. Yeah. So they are not in the office, they are not present. And what's clear meanwhile is that it won't go back to normal. So there will be a certain proportion of working from home, working from other places, working more with nearshore, offshore collaborations. So this is actually home turf for OKRs, I would say, because it makes it easier to focus on the right stuff, to trust people, to track progress, to coach people. And this is why definitely there is a big potential still for OKRs, and it totally makes sense in this kind of environment.
True. But from a manager's standpoint, I think there's also this confusion that's going on in their mind, right? So some of them have KPIs, some call management by objectives, and then now there is OKRs. So what is the key difference here, and how do you see OKRs being way better than these other measurement metrics that we have?
Well, it's definitely not so much about pre-planning. I think the more traditional approaches like MBOs, it's coming from times where you could better pre-plan into the future. You could build a plan for the next 2 years. You could break it down into quarters. You can cascade it down into different departments, teams, down to people. This is not working anymore. So you can build this plan, you can spend a lot of time and effort, but you will recognize that in a month from now, it's actually outdated. It's old. So you spend a lot of energy in building a plan, which is basically, which has no value and is not true anymore. So you need, this has fundamentally changed. So you need a strong vision and strategic direction. And from there, you need to integrate more the brain power of your team, of your people, to concentrate on the right things in order to move in the right direction. And this is more about OKR. So you don't pre-plan so much. It's more about having this long-term view, the strategic direction, and then being aligned on what to concentrate on in the next 3 months or maybe 4 months in order to get there.
Okay. But this kind of requires a complete mindset shift, right? So from a leader standpoint or from a manager standpoint, they've always been used to having predefined plans and then working towards that. With this, there's a huge culture and a mindset shift that needs to happen. So how do you think leaders and or managers can be coached for this?
Well, I'd say this cultural part you were talking about is a fundamental part, and it's a lot about psychological safety of employees. It's about trusting your employees, and I'd say this is even a prerequisite sometimes for OKRs. But prerequisite means that you need to have that in place in order to start with OKRs. And I wouldn't see that so extreme. I would say OKRs can also drive or trigger that cultural change which is needed, which is a good thing actually.
Okay.
But it's super important, definitely.
Okay. But I think from an employee standpoint also, when I look at it, it's important to get the employees buy-in as well into this. Right, for to start using OKRs itself. So how can organizations get that employee buy-in?
Well, we are anyway, I mean, we are in this space now for 8 years, and we are still a big fan of so-called gradual rollouts. So when you start with it, you don't start it from top to bottom in all teams and departments. You start from the top. And this means, out of an employee perspective, that you won't run in a situation where you suddenly get asked from your boss, now you need to do OKRs, and you think, ooh, what does it mean? What does it mean for me, right? What does it mean for my salary? What does it mean for my performance reviews and so on?
Yes.
So you will you will notice it from the top management. They start to do it. You will notice it from more transparency because they will tell more things about it. And maybe you will become an owner of a key result at some point of time. So you get into it, you recognize what it means to become an owner of a key result, and you will also be part of sessions to create OKRs. And that's a fundamental difference to get slowly into it compared to now you have to do it.
Yes. So it's about getting that buy-in and then taking them along rather than
taking them along on the journey.
Okay. But for organizations which are embarking on this OKR journey for the first time, or like you said, you've been in this space for 8 years. What are some common traps, OKR traps, that organizations should avoid?
Well, there are many.
If you had to pick your top 3,
I would say if you start with a rather weak or blurry understanding of your company's vision and purpose and strategy, you will run into a situation where everything seems to be important, and you will have a really hard time to focus on a few things. I'd say also, we talked about that a little bit in the beginning. Another point of view is that lots of companies are stating that they are doing OKRs, but actually they are doing classic MBOs. It's all top down, it's all cascaded down towards employee level. And this is wrong, and people will be wondering, well, what's new about OKRs? Because for them, it feels actually the same as before. So it requires some rules. It requires a cultural change, and it requires a really clear definition of your strategic direction and vision.
Okay. So, firstly, there's the mindset aspect, the culture aspect, and then some of these traps which are there. So how do you think, probably a technology or, some apps can help organizations to roll this out in a more systematic manner and, probably achieve success also implementing it?
Absolutely. So I think it's very helpful when it comes to the visibility of how things are connected, vertically, but also horizontally. So I'm in a team, I need another team to contribute on some priorities, and technology can visualize that. It's great. Yeah. Vertically, so how do we contribute as a team to the strategic direction of the company? If you visualize it, it has a totally different meaning suddenly. It's also super helpful when it comes to connecting your actual doing, so the tasks or maybe sprints when you work with Scrum, with quarterly OKR focus.
Okay.
Super helpful. And it's also great to funnel conversations around these priorities, progress things. And is it important immediately when you start with it? Not necessarily, but latest after the first or second or third round of OKRs, it's definitely helping a lot.
Okay. So it kind of helps you visualize, it kind of helps you have those conversations and basically get a better picture and then move forward with it.
And all this is about transparency. So if we all look into the same tool, it definitely helps transparency.
Absolutely. I think that's the key aspect, from being transparent, and especially when you're working remotely and all that. I think that becomes crucial. So my last question to you, Hannes, would be that if you were to snap your finger and wish that one thing would change in the future workplace, what would that be?
Good one. I would snap my fingers, and I would like to share a culture that you really trust the people you hired. You trust them, what they do, when they do it, how they do it. So you as a manager are able to concentrate on providing all the prerequisites necessary to do it. And that you're able to see yourself as a coach for your people. Okay. Because if that's the case everywhere, wow, that would be awesome.
So I think trust and transparency are the key pillars for the future of workplace, according to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was really nice talking to you, Hannes. I think some very practical insights you had for people who are starting off their journey in adopting OKRs. So looking forward to having more conversations with you in future on this topic. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you.